Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Florida Gators hosting a massive official visit weekend, Friday, June 2nd, that will be going throughout the weekend. You have some guys who are already committed in this 2024 class, and then some top priority recruits, guys like Jeremiah Smith, David Stone. Excited to get into it now. These are the kind of weekends that are some of the most impactful and important weekends for college football programs, and that's including game days on Saturday. Like, you want to win games on Saturday, you have to blow it out of the waters on these kind of recruiting weekends when you have this kind of caliber coming to Gainesville. And we've talked a lot about this Florida Gators program heading into 2023, and what Billy Napier is doing is it seems like he's kind of gearing up and putting a lot of attention into this 2024 class. We've already talked about how impressive he did. I think, minus the Jaden Rashada debacle, like, that 2023 class was very, very good. This year might be some growing pains for the Gators in terms of their play on the field in the fall. That being said, I really do think the future is incredibly bright for the Florida Gators. And you take a look at the talent that they'll be having on campus this weekend, it's going to be massive. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Florida Gator fans, whether we're talking transfer portal, whether we're talking high school recruiting, whether we're doing our summer scouting and kind of previewing the depth chart. You guys have been absolutely awesome. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. I love talking recruiting, so we'll be sure to update on how this weekend goes later next week. But again, if you do enjoy the content, lock in, subscribe to the channel, because it's going to be a busy next couple weeks for the Florida Gators and a lot of Power 5 teams. All right, let's get into this visitor list, because it is massive, and it starts with Jeremiah Smith, and you've seen all the smoke, right? He's committed to Ohio State. He's going to take an official visit to Georgia as well. He wants to play with Dylan Raiola, but one team that's been kind of lurking in the shadows, and I don't even know if you'd say lurking in the shadows, because Jeremiah Smith has been very vocal on Twitter about his attraction to this Florida Gators program. He's very good friends with DJ Lagway. They have taken visits together to Gainesville, and I think having Jeremiah Smith and DJ Lagway on the campus at the same time is massive. Building that, you take a look at why he wants to go to Georgia. He wants to go to Georgia because Dylan Raiola is committed. He's been on record saying, I want to play with an elite quarterback. He's committed to Ohio State. It's going to be – Florida's going to sell something a little different than what Ohio State or Georgia is selling, right? Ohio State kind of selling the – look, Brian Hartline and that offensive staff has been next to none in terms of developing wide receiver talent. Georgia selling, hey, you want to be part of arguably one of the more impressive programs we've seen in the last 5 years in terms of their dominance, not only in the SEC, but in the national championship games. That's kind of what they're selling. What Billy Napier in this Florida Gator staff, I think, is going to sell is, hey, you can be a part of this 2024 class that is going to turn around this program in the sense of get it back on track to where Florida Gator fans and where this program really belongs. And that is an appealing aspect for a lot of these young players, is you could either kind of fall in line of the elite Ohio State wide receivers or the elite play on the field that Georgia brings, or you can go to Florida and be the guy that is helping to turn around this program. But Jeremiah Smith as a prospect, there's not been many more impressive wide receivers coming out of high school than Jeremiah Smith. He's a decorated track athlete, crazy good body control for a guy who's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's already developed. Wherever he goes, he's going to be an impact player year one as a freshman. Now, the late addition to the official visit weekend, David Stone, and I want to talk a little bit about the IMG Academy pipeline to Florida, right? They had some commits in the 2023 class that are from IMG. A lot of guys who are going to be on campus this month, and as we later scroll down to some more players visiting this weekend, are from IMG. David Stone has been active in terms of his visits, right? Oklahoma, Michigan State, Miami. He's been kind of everywhere. A team that not many people are talking about is the Florida Gators. I mean, he visited in March, he visited in May, and now he's coming back early June. And what I'm excited about is that he's taking his visit with kind of the pillars of this 2024 class. When you look at the guys who kind of make up this class, DJ Lagway, Xavier Filsaime, all the way down to Adarius Hayes, those are the guys that are kind of highlighting this 2024 class. And at some point during the recruiting trail, the players start to be the biggest recruiters, right? In terms of, hey, we can do something special as this 2024 class. And David Stone, Jeremiah Smith being on campus with the future quarterback one and DJ Lagway, with the future safety that I think is going to be a first-round pick in Xavier Filsaime. I think that's really, really appealing for guys like Jeremiah Smith and David Stone. They can see all that talent and see I can be a part of something special in this 2024 class, particularly in Gainesville. So if you land one of these two commitments, right, if you can either land Jeremiah Smith or David Stone, right, obviously two guys who are top 5 national prospects, that would help this class in a meaningful way. And quite frankly, I think the conversation starts changing from top 8, top 10 class to top 5, top 3 class if you can name one of these marquee guys in David Stone and Jeremiah Smith. Now, it's not always about the 5 stars too. You have a bunch of other guys visiting who are very intriguing prospects. Jordan Ross from the state of Alabama. From what I'm hearing, a Tennessee lean right now, but a very impressive edge rusher. I think he's also taken visits to Auburn and Alabama. But again, getting a guy like Jordan Ross on campus with kind of the foundation of this 2024 class, I think is going to be massive. And then Jonathan Eccles, another IMG kid that, again, you're going to have some IMG talent on this visit. They know each other, and they might want to play together at the next level. And he's a guy that at Tennessee, he's planning on playing tight end. From what I've heard from a lot of scouts, he's an extremely impressive edge rusher as well. He's listed as an athlete. I wonder if Florida maybe sells that, hey, you can be an elite pass rusher here. If you go to Tennessee, you're a tight end. But maybe you sell the idea that, hey, you can be a dude in the pass rush. That's a very interesting – Jonathan Eccles is an interesting prospect to monitor. He committed to Tennessee early, but he's been active in terms of where he's taken visits. Christopher Jones, a linebacker from Virginia, but LJ McCray, I think a lot of Gator fans want him. He's from the state of Florida. I think Billy Napier is continuing to try to add talent and depth to that defensive line. This is something we've talked about a lot. As an NFL draft guy who goes back and kind of watches film, Ravon Dexter was a dude that just was playing too many snaps. And I think a lot of that had to do with just the lack of talent and depth on that defensive line. Why do you think Dexter's play was so inconsistent? Where you see some reps that he looks like a first-round talent, and then you see some reps where it's like, this guy, why are we even considering him in the NFL draft? I think a lot of it had to do with how many snaps he played. He played one of the most amount of snaps from an interior defensive lineman, and a guy who was playing at 315 pounds probably shouldn't be playing as many snaps as he did. But why did he play that many snaps? Because they did not have depth behind a guy like Ravon Dexter. I know you have Desmond Watson. I know you had Jalen Lee, who transferred to LSU, but so it was a group that just wasn't it on the defensive line. Now you take a look at what they did in the 2023 class, adding a guy like Kelby Collins, Will Norman. I think Billy Napier has noticed that too and is going heavy after some of these defensive linemen, kind of going down the list. And the more I talk about recruiting, the more I think these type of prospects don't get enough attention as they deserve. Like, still blue chip guys, still top 250 dudes, 4-star athletes who are just like, oh, everyone pays attention to the Jeremiah Smith or the David Stone commit. These guys mean a lot. And a guy like Ethan Callaway, who I heard is lean in Florida, 6'7", 300 pounds. You take a look at a guy like Ethan Callaway from North Carolina, NFL build, length, athleticism, checks all the boxes. I would not, even a guy like Jalen Crawford too, who is a top 160 dude. Like, these guys are still extremely important to get in these classes. And again, when they're taking visits with some of these top guys, I think you're really intrigued. Now, going down the list, talking about Dontre Robinson from the state of Florida, a Gator lean, again, continuing to get that size and that talent on the defensive line. And I want to go all the way down to a guy in Jaden Jackson, another IMG guy. You talk about getting that IMG pipeline going. Jaden Jackson, you see him ranked at 670th nationally, offers from Ohio State, Tennessee, Miami. These Power 5 teams are seeing Jaden Jackson a little bit differently than 24/7 Sports does. And I think there's an element of he's 6'2", so maybe the length isn't there, and 24/7 maybe not projecting him as a potential first rounder. Jaden Jackson, when you turn on the film, is a guy that can play early because he has the body to play early. I think that's why a lot of Power 5 teams want him. And at the end of the day, 24/7 Sports is a recruiting service. And these Power 5 programs, Billy Napier and that scouting department in Gainesville, is going to have a completely different board. And Jaden Jackson's kind of a guy that you see maybe getting valued a little differently in comparison to some of the other recruiting services that we use, like 24/7 and On3. So again, this is a massive, massive weekend. And even if you go back up into seeing who's going to be on campus throughout the month of June, some massive, massive guys. Even you go back to who's going to be on campus next weekend, a guy like Walter Matthews from the state of Georgia, I think was leaning Georgia. Georgia already has 2 tight ends in their class, 6'7", 250 pounds, a matchup nightmare across the middle of the field. So he's a guy that definitely keep your eye on. There's going to be a lot of battles for Florida to potentially get some traction on. But again, you go back to what this 2024 class is looking like. It's a top 11 class right now with only 8 commits, but they have some serious traction in terms of a lot of these recruits that are not committed yet, but are definitely leaning for Florida. Billy Napier has a massive weekend and, quite frankly, a massive month. I think you saw it with taking Graham Mertz. I don't think he's trying to win a national championship or an SEC championship in 2023. I think he's saying we're going to get a lot of our young guys in the 2023 class and that 2022 class some burn. And so when you get to 2024, 2025, when you have a guy like DJ Lagway as your quarterback, that's where I think the Florida Gators program gets back to where these fans want it to be. And how you get it there is winning this kind of weekend. You got to get some of these guys. You got to impress them, roll out the red carpet, because you're going up against every other Power 5 team in the country. So massive weekend for the Gators. We're going to hop back on after it happens. I don't know if we'll see any commitments yet, but again, we'll see how it goes, what some of the players had to say about this Florida Gators weekend. But the biggest weekend, I think, for their official visits in the month of June. I'm very excited to track it. And again, appreciate the support you guys have shown. If you do enjoy the updates, you do like talking recruiting, consider subscribing to the channel. It's going to be a busy next couple of weeks and months. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.